Finally pulled the trigger. It's getting a Banks monster ram. Follow along. Next step, disconnect both batteries and then remove these 4 bolts that are up. And we'll go ahead and remove this entrance cover, get it out of the way. Alright, next step, we got to loosen all the bolts that hold this crankcase vent filter loose. Some of them are studs in the back. This one right here, it's got this little wiring retainer on it. You need a tool, something like this. Get underneath and just pop these retainers off. You got one right here, then one right there in the back. Those are studded bolts. You gotta do all that just to lift this cover up and get these 2 bolts loose. So remove this bracket, set it back down. I think we can bolt her down and move on to the next step. Alright, so I'm at the point, you took the 11 millimeter clamps loose there, and there we're going to remove this useless piece of junk of EGR tube, which needs to just disappear altogether. So over here, disconnected thermocouple and also the EGR. Next, we're removing this heat shield for the some kind of intake piece. And I'll be back with you. Alright, so this is where I'm at. We've removed the heat shield around this piece, loosened the boost tube clamp. I've got the hose kind of halfway loose. You gotta watch out for connectors on this, because this little black piece right here, there's a connector on the bottom side of it, and it's that bad boy right there. That's kind of a pain in the ass to get to. One thing they don't call out for in the instructions is a telescopic mirror. I would highly suggest having one while doing this. It made it substantially easier than what it would have been. Next, I believe we are off to taking this intake elbow with EGR assembly off. I'll be back. Alright, here's an update. So prior to taking the little pedestal mount for the dipstick loose, there was an L bracket that tied in with this bolt and this bolt. Those 2 came out. This is a through bolt all the way down to the intake manifold / cylinder head. So there's 1 bolt. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more bolts, and this came loose. Now I gotta work on getting it out of the boost tube itself. I'll be back. Old air intake horn is off. Look at all that soot and garbage in there, and compare that opening with over here. You couldn't tell I went ahead and threaded the little intake heater element on. Got this thing back around Christmas time. It was just too cold to mess with installing it, so couldn't help myself, had to dig in and look at her. But that's pretty incredible size difference. Should be a whole lot more airflow. I'll be back. So we're down to removing fuel lines. This is how awesome Banks is, in my opinion. Even these little red caps are dust covers included in the kit. What other aftermarket company goes to that extreme? Outstanding quality. Fuel rail is out. All the miscellaneous other parts and pieces here. this is what we're left with. I got one more connector back there and a little plastic wire harness retainer piece to pop off. And I believe this plate assembly is coming off with this infamous grid heater piece. So I'll update you as soon as I'm there. So it's the next day on this Banks Monster Ram install. I'll tell you, this is a time-consuming job. It's not hard, but it definitely does take a lot of time. Also, this morning I had to stop off at Harbor Freight and buy the ball Allen socket set. It's for this bolt. I don't know if you can see it down here in the back. This little PCV nipple really gets in the way of being able to tighten that without one of these ball sockets. So definitely recommend getting one of those. It's like a 6mm. Fits them pretty good. And also still have to do the bolt down through the heater element hole. There's a hidden bolt down there. You gotta dose it up with thread locker pretty good, make sure that doesn't rattle out. But I'll give you an update as soon as I got one. Here she is, all finished up. Last steps were EGR tube, dipstick relocation. I had to modify this. I had to beat this part with a hammer, flatten it out a little bit. Otherwise, the dipstick was hitting on the heat shield right here. So keep in mind that. Still need to zip tie a couple wires and stuff. That's no big deal. EGR tube installed. The throttle body, as they call it, heat shield installed. Wires tagged up in there. Next step is to crank it. See, hopefully we have no fuel leaks, but see what happens. I'm cycling to run a couple times, trying to get make sure the fuel's up there to the injection pump. Make sure this thing gets fuel as quick as it possibly can. All right, she's alive. Let's see how many fuel leaks we got. because of yeah, that's right below where all of the injectors are. Check down low, get crawl underneath it, make sure, but I'm gonna let it run for a minute. Check back with you. Y'all have it. Check for leaks. We're dry. This install, it's not hard. It is very time consuming though. Never messed with a 6.7 before. I've worked a little bit on the 5.9 Cummins. I used to have a 99. It's a little bit different. The comparison side by side, just for airflow alone, would about be worth the $1,000 entry fee for this kit. But really the only reason I got it was because of the grid heater issue. Mine turned out to be fine, but this truck is fairly new to me. Maybe it's almost a year that I've had it, and it's always been in the back of my mind every time I go to start it on a cold day, is that bolt gonna fall off and trash the engine? So rather spend $1,000, peace of mind, and eliminate the issue than to just keep it and always be wondering. Peace of mind is very valuable. So there you have it. If any of you have a 6.7, I would highly recommend doing this. I'm completely blown away, I would say, at the quality of the Banks parts, the Banks kit. I don't think anybody aftermarket does anything better than what Gale Banks does. And no, this grid heater, it's enough of a problem on these engines that Cummins has gone to glow plugs on the new 6.7 for $25. So if that tells you anything, get it replaced, guys. Don't live in fear and possibly trash an engine. Thanks for watching, y'all.